it's no secret that all eyes are on the Fed right now, right? You can see it in the markets. Every single time we get some sort of economic indicator, it's like the Fed funds futures rip all over the place. And this morning we got a pretty negative, it's a sloppy employment report, so with a 4.3% rising unemployment, it hasn't really spiked yet, but um, we're in that strange period here, Brandon, where bad news is good news for the market in a way, because as long as it's not devastating, as long as it's not catastrophic, then what the market is looking for is, okay, a little bit of a softer landing from the Fed, meaning they're going to start lowering rates, maybe back off of the rest of that QT that they're doing. It's not much right now. We can talk about that in a minute, but and get some rate cuts here. We haven't had cuts since last year, since before the election, when they cut them 50 basis points right away, and it was like, okay, was that political or not? So you've got some arguments going on around whether or not they should have already been cutting. You've got inflation numbers that they're complex. Some of them are contradicting each other, and the reason for that is tariffs, and there's no way around it. That has had an impact on pricing. It's just a question of how much and how long is it. Is it a structural change? Is it a one-time change? Does it have knock-on effects? Which I think it does have knock-on effects. It's just the question is how much. How much does that ripple through the economy? So, but at the same time, you've got consumers are getting a little bit more stressed, especially the lower demographic, the ones who are taking on credit, using credit cards. You're seeing delinquencies go up. You're seeing 90-day delinquencies rise into a point of, right now they're 12.3%. And at the peak of the great financial crisis, it was only at 13.1%. So consumers are stressed. And especially the ones who are just feeling that pinch of inflation, who have felt it all these years. If, for your listeners, if your dollar in 2025 lost 25% of its purchasing power over the last 5 years since COVID. And so, people are feeling that, the lower demographic. Why do we keep saying that? Well, the wages are not keeping up to the inflation, and if they are, they're lagging. So you've lost all this purchasing power all on the way. You haven't been putting away money. You're just trying to catch up. Insurance rates are going up. Real estate rents, whether it's auto insurance, it's medical insurance. I'm sure you felt it. I opened up my auto insurance the other day, and they literally were trying to double it in a year, just double it. And which was already at an insane rate. And I have a perfect driving record. I haven't gotten speeding tickets or anything in 7 years, maybe. I mean, nothing. And I'm a really clean driver. And they just wanted to just double the rates just because they can, And so I had to switch providers. And that's what they all know that you do that. And they push on that, and they make it, they want to create some friction to keep you from doing that. But, and that is, you've got to change your insurance. You got to go and do it and decide which one and give them all the information and fill it out. It's a pain in the ass, but it's worth it, clearly, for thousands and thousands of dollars a year. It's clearly worth it. So, but that whole big picture is, okay, so what are we looking at? Well, it's been quiet. The market's been really quiet, although it's been marching higher. Brandon, we've been in the doldrums of summer for months now. You can see it in just how much trading there's going on. When you look at the markets, you look at Bitcoin, there's just not a lot of volume, and so. Now you say, okay, well, what happens if the Fed does cut rates? What if they don't cut rates? What's that argument? Well, the problem is that inflation has been sticky above 2% for a long time. I know true inflation just showed a measure it's below 2% now, 1.9%. But it has been sticky for what the Fed is looking at, the PCE and the CPI numbers. They've been sticking above 2.3, 2.5, 2.6% for a while now. And so the issue here is, if we do have a slowing economy, if we did take out, hundreds of thousands of jobs from the government more, which was the largest hiring employer for the last 4 years. If we did do that, and if AI is causing the younger college graduates not, if it's taking away some of their jobs because AI can do menial tasks now, and they're not filling those jobs with the young, eager employees. If the economy really is slowing, and you've got companies that are slowing their spending, they're slowing their investment into their companies and into new product lines or expanding product lines or whatever, because of worries about the economy, worry about tariffs, then we do have an economy that's rolling over. It worries me. It does concern me. I guess concern is the operative word here. However, you still have inflation that's sticky, and so that is the pure definition of stagflation, where you've got the economy's rolling over, yet prices are still going up. It's an absolute nightmare for the Fed, because what do they do? And that's why they've been sitting on the fence for so long, whether or not it's political. Their argument is that they're data dependent. And the data has been showing that inflation was not conquered yet, and employment was still okay. So their two mandates are stable prices, which is their target of 2% inflation, and full employment. Well, full employment, nobody knows what that means. It's like, are we at full employment or not? But if unemployment is rising, we're clearly not in full employment. But over the last number of months, they've been able to argue that, hey, we're at near full employment or close enough, and inflation is still something we're concerned about. So we're not going to lower rates quite yet. And because of that, the market has a bunch of uncertainty in it, and you see this grinding sideways. However, because of that mandate, now they're in a pickle, right? So if they lower rates and it makes liquidity easier access to liquidity, then, and I'm looking up at my Bloomberg screen now, and I'll quote the numbers in a second here, but if they lower rates, what happens to inflation? Does inflation rip? And, is the economy rolling over hard enough that they should be lowering rates and easing access to capital for companies to be able to access capital to keep the employment from driving into a recession? That's the problem. So the issue that the investors know is that the Fed is usually late. They're usually late, almost always late to the party. And they are because they said there are. They expect to be. Powell has said this a number of times. He has said, look, we're data dependent. We know the data is lagging. And by definition, the Fed is then lagging, because the Fed is lagging the data. So even when they get the data, unless they have an emergency meeting, they're still waiting weeks or sometimes months to make a decision on rates or on quantitative easing or quantitative tightening at their next meeting behind that data. And so why is he comfortable with this? Well, he's comfortable with it because the more problematic situation is when they make liquidity too easy. They print too much money. They flood the market with capital, which is what we saw in 2021 and 2022 when inflation ripped over 9%. Man, they had to scramble and raise rates at a breakneck speed in order to battle that, and buy back bonds with QT to take liquidity back out of the system. It was a nightmare for them. The reverse repo got up into the trillions, and it just became a nightmare for them.
If you like that clip, then you definitely got to check out this next spicy clip. I think you're really going to like it. Come on, check it out. But if you want the full version, the full interview, then check that out over here. Come on, do it. I'll see you in there.